Awesome. Very good. And we're live. So that was it. We want to thank Tom and Samantha both for joining us here today. We're happy to do this lunch and learn for everybody. And if you're just kind of walking in on us, what you found is three nerds who really love construction and making sure that they have everything they need as far as data is concerned and getting their life together there. So Tom, did you want to take us away and tell us all the awesome things about Agave?
Sure thing. So hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Tom, one of the co-founders of Agave. And before we hop in, I'll let Samantha give a quick intro, and then we'll get into the discussion. So Samantha, feel free to give an intro.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Samantha, another co-founder at Agave. Excited to share a product with you. I'll be doing the demo today.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get into it. So here's the ConTech Financials Agave webinar. And we'll spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes just giving some background on integrations, what systems we can connect, how everything works. And then we'll show a live demo, which will be the exciting part. So we'll build some suspense here, and then Samantha will deliver the goods. So why care about integration? Here, why we should care. So let's say you don't have integrations today between your systems. Our experience with customers is if they don't have an integration, specifically between their project management and accounting system, which are really the two core operating systems that run your business, that has three impacts. The first is you're wasting time. The second is you're working with bad data. And the third is you're losing visibility. So the first, wasting time, your teams are forced to work in multiple systems. So you're going to have your operations team working in your Procore, your day-to-day operations system, and you're going to have your accounting team in your accounting system. That creates a silo of your data, and your teams are going to have to manually move data between those systems, or they're not going to, which brings us to the second problem. Your teams might not be moving data between those systems, or they might not be doing it as frequently as you want, and that produces stale and out-of-date information. And why does that matter? Because it becomes hard to see your actual costs against your original budgets and really understand risks that could impact your margins in close to real time. That's going to be weeks away, or you might not be understanding that at all. So through adding integrations, we can solve these three problems. So that's where we come in. Our company is called Agave. We focus 100% on construction, as we'll explain, and 100% on integrating your systems. So we help specifically sync your field and accounting systems to drive three outcomes for your business. The first is removing duplicate data entry. So we save your team time by removing the need for them to move files and data between your systems manually. Two, we give your team and business accurate, timely data in very close to real time to ensure that your teams, both on the operations side and the accounting side, are operating off the most recent data and can really see costs and control risks soon versus weeks or months too late. And then last is keeping your teams in their preferred systems. So your operations team can stay in your Procore all day, every day. They don't have to bounce around to an accounting system, learn how that works. And then last, your accounting team can stay in their accounting system and not have to dive into Procore and learn how all that works. So keeping your teams productive and efficient. So who are we? Just some quick background. You see Samantha and I on the call. We are co-founders of Agave, and as I mentioned, we're 100% focused on data integrations. And we have over 160 customers, and we're quickly becoming the industry standard in construction for connecting your construction software. Just to give you a sense of who we work with contractors, both very large and small, everyone in between. And we also have construction software vendors using our integrations to connect into your ERP and project management system. So we're serving everyone in the industry, both contractors and software vendors. So how do we help? How do we solve this problem? So we'll talk through over the next minute or two how we solve this problem, and then I'll pass off to Samantha, and she'll show you how all of this works live. So think of Agave as bridging the gap between your field and accounting systems. So we work in the background to keep your data in sync. We hook into your field kind of day-to-day operation systems of Procore and Autodesk, a Service Titan. You might be using multiple of these in your business. We also hook into your accounting system. Here we cover many different Sage systems. So Sage 100 Contractor, 300 CRE, Intact, the Viewpoint systems, QuickBooks, Foundation, Acumatica. and we're adding many more into the future. But we really can hook into about 10 to 12 different systems and bridge the gap that exists between them. And just big picture, here's the data we can connect between, as an example, pair of systems, Procore and Sage 300. We'll go through and show you what Sage 100 Contractor looks like as well. But we won't spend a lot of different type of information to remove those data silos, to automate work that your team might be doing manually today, and to give you that real-time access to information, to understand risks, to understand costs, and to correct those if there are any issues in your projects as soon as possible versus waiting weeks or months. We break our overall integrations down into 4 modules, as you see on the left there, and you can pick and choose these. So if you want to just really onboard to a Procore quickly, maybe the core module is a great place to start. If you're adding Procore Financials, maybe adding the AP and AR layers is a great place to start. And then if you're deep into Procore and you're using field productivity and timekeeping, our workforce module allows you to bring over employees that you're already pushing and managing into Sage 300 series, log timesheets and time cards in Procore, and then push that time card data over to Sage to run payroll, and then push those job costs and labor costs as job costs over to Procore, all automatically. And our system is built. Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Please.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me interrupt. So the first thing I see that's super exciting on this page are those arrows that go back and forth. So, and it's with particular interest on commitments and the purchase orders. So if we had a company in construction that maybe, had a specific platform that they used for purchase orders, could we hook that up to Procore as well through this platform? Is that what those arrows are insinuating for us?
Great question. So the arrows show the direction we can move the data. For each type of data, we ask you to go in just one direction, so we're not conflicting and having overlapping edits. You can have what we call point solutions or third-party systems that sit on top of Procore or Sage. Often this is for managing purchase orders or invoices, and those can feed data into Sage and Procore, and we can pick up that data once it's entered into Procore or Sage automatically and push it over to the other system. So that is, as you see, we can go in pretty much any direction. As you see, we do ask you to go in just to pick your direction to go just one way, but you can have solutions that feed into these systems. We can pick up data that's entered via those systems and then move that to a Procore or a Sage all automatically. And we're pretty flexible, as you see here, and highly customizable.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for that, because I know there's a lot of people that have other platforms too, and not just Procore or even Autodesk that they're working with.
Yep, very common, especially in this AP side. Those tend to be, there's a lot of activity that might be done manually today, and software, I think, is automating a lot of that. And we see a lot of plugins that sit on top of your PM or ERP system to automate a lot of that work. And a lot of them are our customers, as we mentioned, using our API to automate a lot of that data entry today.
Awesome.
So here's Procore Sage 300 series. We'll jump to Procore Sage 100 Contractor. As you can see, I'll just do a quick flip back. Not much has changed, and that's intentional. We have very deep capabilities across all the ERPs that we cover, and we try to standardize the data flows so it's easy for you to understand, easy for us to scale the software, and to really give you a pre-built product that works more or less off the shelf. So similar setup here, and the green box is just to call out. You flow that data as a best practice. It's what most of our customers do and what we see across the industry. So last slide here, how to work with us, and then we can come back. And Sarah, I see your call out. Bidirectional can be a nightmare. Yes, great question. So bidirectional can be a nightmare. That's why we advise against doing it. Technically, we could do it in a lot of cases, but we recommend not doing it to avoid complexity and to avoid really having conflicting edits of a single record. So let's just say you've got a purchase order and you have 2 sources of truth, is what we might say for that. Those are going to conflict at some point inevitably, and it's going to be really hard to troubleshoot. And it's going to be really hard to understand which system is the source of truth, which wins in the event of a conflict. And if you have that across multiple data types, your integration is going to be a nightmare. Majority of cases, we recommend not doing that for simplicity, for ease of use, for ease of troubleshooting. And in most cases, in fact, every case, we've talked with our customers on where they thought they needed bidirectional sync. When you dig into the details, I think they actually prefer the simpler workflows so they can give their team clear guidance. So if you're entering a purchase order, that should always be in Procore or Sage versus telling their team to do different things under different cases. So I think it's just simpler, both for the integration, but also for implementing the change and processes at your companies. So Sarah, thanks for the question. Cool. So how to work with us, quick slide here, then I'll hand off to Samantha. Feel free to email me. Again, I'm Tom, just tom@agaveapi.com. Check us out in the Procore marketplace. You can just search Agave. And then reasons why you might want to consider adding or upgrading integrations. You might be new to Procore or your PM system. You might be expanding your use of your PM system. So adding an invoicing module, a financials module, a timekeeping, or Procore calls it the field productivity module. So your upgrade need for an integration. And then you might be also moving your ERP system or accounting system. So you might be continuing to use a Procore and then upgrading, let's say, from Sage 100 Contractor to Sage Intacct. It's a great time to consider adding an integration and automating work and getting the benefits we discussed earlier in the presentation. So if nothing else, I will hand off to my co-founder, Samantha, for a live demo.
All right, it looks like at least some of the comments are coming through and we look all right for right now. So Samantha, if you want to take us away, and I'll kind of let you go through a little bit and then we'll see if we get some questions pop up. So again, just to kind of help everybody, we do have the ability to answer questions about Sage 300, Sage 100. And then Tom, did you give us a nice little teaser for Intacct? How are you guys there?
We are adding Intacct now. We have many software vendors using our API to connect into Sage Intacct, and we will be launching it very soon for Procore and Autodesk. So stay tuned, and maybe not surprising, the data map, as we showed you, will look very similar as it does for Sage 300 Siri and Sage 100 Contractor.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to be sure and clear and make sure everybody heard, is that for the Sage Intacct users, that integration map for possible data points that can go across are going to include those owner change orders and some of the more important items that you need to get across there too. All right, Samantha.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Tom and Maria. Can people see my screen now?
They can now.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, just to make everyone familiar with my setup here, it's all going to be in this browser window. I have my Sage 100 set up for the demo. In the middle, this is the Agave Sync tool. It's a web-based tool that everyone can, get an account with us, come in here, link accounts. Most of my demo will be focusing on this tab. And then on the right-hand side, I have a few tabs for Procore. Cool. So let's get started. The first thing you will do coming to the tool is to make your configuration. And it's very straightforward, and we typically help you during our onboarding process. But all you need to do is to connect the two systems, one on the ERP side and the other on the PM side. So we talked about how we support Sage 100, 300 Intacct. We actually do way more. And each of these systems will support their official or like the best way to connect to them. And in the case of Sage 100 and 300, we've built our own agent that you'll need to install. It's a very straightforward application, very thin, that just allows us to talk from our server to your local on-prem Sage server. Before we allow you to make the connection, we ask you to check the Windows version you're running, the Sage version you're running, to make sure it's all supported. We do follow each system's sunset schedule. So if you are using a system that they are supporting today, we will be supporting you. So assuming everything looks good to you, you'll click continue. I will instruct you to download and install the application that I just showed. And it will also tell you to go here and add an account. And I can show it right now. So this is the same connector that we use for both Sage 100 and 300. And for 100, all you need to know is your database name, which is your company name. Actually, I can maybe, actually it's here. So this is my company name. So I'll just put it in there. And the host typically is the string before it. Again, we will help you during the onboarding. It's a one-time setup. You can set it and forget it. And we will create a Sage user during the process as well. And then we also need instance name, which we're polling here. So basically, it's just like this home screen broken down into 5 input fields and also adding the user and password. So let's test and save. It went through. That means we're now already connected to your local Sage application. And then we'll connect it to our cloud server by generate a Agave account in the cloud by pushing that button. And then you just copy and paste the account ID and token into the connector and test and save. And we can validate connection. So,
hey, Samantha,
yep.
sorry to interrupt. We just had another question from Sarah. Great participation, Sarah. Love it.
That's good.
So they're great. Thank you for ever highlighted that. She's asking about how we do integrations for systems that don't offer APIs, specifically computer use. So I'm happy to tack that on. But Samantha, did you want to address the question there?
So Sarah, Sage don't have APIs. That's why we built the connector. Yeah, Tom, I don't know if you want to tackle the computer ease part, but for each system, we find the best way to integrate with them.
Cool. Yep. So broadly, a lot of the systems we integrate with don't have APIs, as Samantha mentioned. So what we do is we actually build this connector that Samantha is demoing here. Works the same for every on-prem or hosted system that doesn't have an API. And then what we do, and this is kind of our special sauce over at Agave, is we actually build our own APIs to wrap each of these systems in conjunction with the actual system itself. So we'll work with Sage, we'll work with other systems, Foundation, to create APIs when they don't exist. Could get into the technical details of how that works if that's interesting, but I'll skip over that now, not to bore the webinar audience. But if you're interested, feel free to just comment. And specifically for computer ease, we're actually working with their team right now to figure out the best way to move data in and out. I'll leave it at that. There are a variety of approaches, and it's in development right now and should be launched in the next couple months. And we'll be connecting that up to Procore and other systems in the future. But we have a wide variety of ways to connect when there isn't an API, and that's kind of our special sauce here.
It's a pretty good answer.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Sarah. Sounds good. So that said, we just connected the ERP side, and computer ease will largely be the same. We will guide you through the process with our link component. And then let's connect the PM and as well. As you can see, we also support a wide range of project management systems, and I'll be using Procore. So for Procore, the way we connect is very straightforward. You probably know they have a marketplace, so we ask you to install our app in there. And if you have the app installed, we'll just be able to log you in. And this just bounced back because I'm logged in here in my Procore account already. And I can just select the Procore company I want to use. I'll click confirm here. So as soon as I connect both systems, as you can see, we're loading all the default mapping, the green arrows that Tom was showing on the slides. And then this also provides us with a starting point to then further customize it, change it to the direction you want, do some like account level setups. So we understand, for example, your sub-job, cost codes, cost type, breakdown structure, etc. But this is pretty much like just an experience like ready to go, turnkey. You connect your accounts and you're pretty much ready to go with all these default features. So for this demo, though, I did prepare another a pre-existing configuration that allowed me to do a bunch of connections beforehand. But it's the same systems that I just linked, Sage 100 and Procore. Cool. Assuming this all makes sense, I'll also move on to talk about other things you can do on the settings page. So as you can see, it's polling all the data models and sync directions. You can then configure if you want these records to be automatically synced hourly or daily. You can also determine in more detail if you want us to like get all the new records over every hour and or update existing like linked records that had been pushed in the past. So this kind of helps us keep all your connected vendors or projects up to date while potentially like not just blindly pulling in every single new record. So your team can have a little bit more control. This all self-serve, so you can come in here and change your setting anytime you want. Doesn't have to go through our team. In addition to the automatic sync setting, when we have other settings for these data models, we will also show more columns like for projects, because we're going from Sage 100 to Procore. We allow you to set up the Procore project template to use, and there will be more settings as you like get to use the tool a little bit more. And during our onboarding process, we'll walk you through every step of the way, from like setting up the global objects, vendors, customers, projects, employees, to then for your test project, go through cost code, cost types, and budget line items. And then depending on the module you want to use, we will go through the AP workflow, the AR workflow, the time card entries, and payroll workflow. And this is all like modular, so you can layer them on. Cool. If that all makes sense, my demo today will be focusing on mostly the core module. I will sync vendor. I already have a project connected, and I will go through the core workflow in project, and also the accounts payable. That are those are the most popular features that people use us for.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah. We're not seeing anything else in the comments, so I think we're excited.
Cool. Sounds good. So let's go into the vendor tool. So all of the tools are on the left, and as soon as you select a tool, we show you, what you selected, and also the flow direction. So here I'm pulling data from Sage to Procore. That means I'm seeing a list of all my vendors in Sage, and I can pull up the same list here. So if I order by source ID, you'll see it's the same list I'm getting live from the Sage database. This table is very powerful, and it's the same table across all the tools, so I will spend a few minutes explaining it. Here are a few like buttons you can export this data in the view anytime you want. You can configure the columns you want to see, like you can pull up address here, pretty helpful field. You can drag the columns around. You can sort by them, as I demoed. You can also add more filters. you have access to all these different fields to filter your data, and you can just search. So for this demo, I've prepared summer supplies. If you take a look, I don't currently have it in my Procore company directory. But if I just click push here, and let me also bring it up from my Sage site so you can see some of the data. So summer supplies. I just push it over. Let me search for it again. Yep. And I have just now synced it to Procore. As you can see, summer supplies, ID 135 connected with my ERP. I'm also pulling the address, the phone number, and the email, just like that. And this is pretty much how this tool works. Let's then move on to project. And as you can see, I already have my summer properties project connected. Basically the same way that I pushed over the vendors, I pushed over my project. And let me pull it up from my Sage system. What is the ID on this? Yep, cool. So I have my project in Sage, and I have a very simple budget set up on it. So it's 18,760. Yeah.
One more. Yes, this is another good one from Sarah. And I'm glad she's geeking out with us. But another question: if there's an error, how are you alerted of a synchronization issue?
Yeah, great question. So I'll be covered later, but we have this logs page that shows like every button that I click. And if there's an error, it will show up in both the logs page and also the errors page. And also at the end of the day, we will send you like a daily summary email that will tell you how many records have you pushed, updated in each day under each model. And also we will tell you how many errors have we encountered and what are the top reasons we're erroring out.
Wow, now that is a really amazing report. I haven't heard anybody offer that in the market. So there's another good reason why I just can't get enough of y'all. So then tell me this, because I knew this next part I'm about to ask you about on purpose. I knew about this part and I loved it already. Mm-hmm. What happens if somebody's got a piece of data that won't move and they're stuck and they need help?
Oh, they just ask us?
Yeah. Tell me more about that. They just ask you, right?
Yeah. So first of all, there is a help and support channel. You'll see like this email support, very handy. We also can set up a Teams channel. Like we typically set up a Teams channel with our customers, especially during onboarding. So we can also add a button here to directly bring you to the Teams channel we've set up between you and Agave, and you can just ping us there.
Awesome. And then what can somebody expect once they get into that help area?
Yeah, so we typically reply on the day off, and a lot of times way faster than that. And also during the onboarding process, we typically do weekly meetings. So every week, like you have like guaranteed FaceTime with us. We're happy to address ad hoc questions if they're not fully addressed with like emails and Teams chat. And also that allows us to walk through, more comprehensive like workflow changes, discuss, for example, which direction you want to move your data.
Perfect. That's really nice. And then what happens if you have a really big like we'll say pothole in the data bridge, right? And you've got to fix it. It's going to require some work. What kind of guarantee do you guys have as far as downtime? Because when I need to transfer my contracts back and forth or get a check out, an invoice, something like that, I need to move the data now.
Yeah, so we have like SLAs on downtime guarantee, and it's like depend on the problem. I guess like our bottom line is if there is critical error with your like live data, you have an email to page us, so that will just literally sound alarm in our office. It's really annoying, so we'll address it as soon as possible. In terms of the actual fix, we'll react as quickly as we can to get your data moving, and the fix typically comes in the next week.
Okay.
Yeah, and one point to highlight there is, as I described in our slides, our entire business is data integrations. Every dollar of revenue we make comes from this product that we're demoing here and making sure it's really good, which is different from maybe other integration providers in the market where Procore or others might be making a lot more revenue from hundreds of other products, and integrations are really a tack on. So we care a lot about giving you great service, and we can do that because our entire team is dedicated to integration. So just wanted to highlight that, and also to loop back to what Samantha showed on the errors page here and the logs page. Those are actually suggested by customers. So we really listen to customers during those weekly meetings. We take your feedback seriously, and we build very quickly to iterate on the inputs that you share with us. So these were suggested by customers, some of our early testers. We implemented it in a matter of weeks, and they've been, I think, very happy with it. So in short, we take customer feedback very seriously, and if you work with us, you might have the ability to make the product better. So please share feedback if you do end up using us. Thanks. Samantha, back to you.
Sounds good. All right. Great question. Let's continue with the project setup here. So again, I have the summer properties projects on both systems already linked. I have my budget prepared, and I don't have anything on the Procore side. And this is to show you how easy it is to set up a new project in Procore if Procore decides to load. Hi, going to admin. Yep, cool. So let's go to the work breakdown structure. That is the backbone of all the financial data. So as you can see, I don't have any cost codes currently in my Procore instance. And what I can do, instead of grabbing my CSV, uploading it, you also need to download the Procore tool for cost codes if you want to bulk upload. What you can do with our tool is you come in here, select the project you want to push to. Again, cost codes comes from Sage to Procore, and this is all my cost codes in my Sage instance live. And I can just check all. So 528 rows selected and just push all. Oh, this is also a cool feature. When you are trying to push a lot of data, we don't just blindly create 500 records for you. We will first check what you have in Procore, and I can show it with vendor data a bit better. And we will we'll first compare and see if you have the exact same data. We will offer to link them and keep them up to date rather than pushing them and creating new records. So this is our mechanism to prevent like creating thousands of records and like half of them are duplicates. Cool. But in this case, I have a clean slate. So let me just push. And we do have 500 cost codes to sync. So it'll be a few seconds. also, all of these are automatable. So once you set up your configuration to just go automatic, we will be, at every hour pulling your new projects, put them in Procore, then also grabbing all the cost codes, put them in Procore, grab all the budget line items, put them in Procore, etc. Yep, just like that, we've pushed 500 records. If I refresh, you'll see all my cost codes are now in my Procore instance and ready to use. Go ahead.
Thanks, Samantha. I actually did have it's just burning inside of me. Can you actually set up like a template of cost codes that you want? So let's say I do have 500 cost codes, but for typically on my projects, before we roll our estimate, the codes that I really want available are probably 5 to 10, timekeeping codes that we're going to be using, or, permits. Is there something I can do or click and just say, hey, add these 10 codes to every job?
Yeah, so it's interesting. You do need to work with Procore. They have a feature that you need to ask for to do that, to put cost code in project templates. As you can see, we allow you to set the template for a new project. So if you do ask Procore to enable it for your account, and you have the cost codes you want to use on the new project baked into the template, then you will get it every single time you create a new project. It is interesting that by default, Procore project templates don't come with cost codes. So that's just a caveat, but we've helped our customers walk through that and get that access already. So that's something we can help you do as well.
Awesome. And then if we were making our jobs inside Sage and then pushing those over, then we would just have to go with whatever we're doing in Sage. And we
exactly
can make there. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you do include cost codes in your template, and that's how you are pushing new projects, then instead of pushing the cost codes, we will just link them together. Like, for example, the cost types are global. If you're again like tech geeks like us, cost types are not like specific to each project. They're global. That's why instead of letting you push it every single time, a lot of time we just end up linking them.
Awesome.
Cool. Great questions. Now that we have cost code and cost type, we can move on to budget line items. Again, this is the very simple budget that I've set up in Sage, and again, totaling 18760. I'm pulling it up again live here. Have the same total, means it's looking good. Let me grab them and push over. And I'll go to this budget tab. And this one, we need to do one by one. So we'll take a bit as well. And again, that's something that's entirely automatable. So no matter if you're using a Procore template or if you're using our tool to just automatically sync each data model, you can set it and forget it. And after an hour, you come to a new project with budget, and it's all set up in Procore. Great. Thanks, Sarah.
The compliment that came in. There's a couple. Yes, integrated to understand project-based solutions language. That, and here, I'm kind of partial to this one. You had me at hello. Right? That's probably how I feel about y'all.
Oh, thanks. Great. Yeah. So thanks for all the kind words. So thus far, we've been demoing all the data coming from Sage and setting up projects and vendors, etc. in Procore. Next, we are going to push data from Procore to back to Sage, and this is a typical workflow. When the project is fully set up, then the project team comes in and start drafting their commitments. So Let's draft one up here. So just subcontract. And for the contracting company, I'll use a company that I've connected before. I'll put in a demo subcontract, status approved. Retainage, I've set it to 5% already. I'll add some schedule of values, maybe just this subcontract line. I'll just say demo line item of $2,000. I can also set a contract date, and I'll click create. Hopefully this is all straightforward. It's kind of like the simplest subcontract you can draft in Procore. So now let's go into the Agave tool. So because everything is set up to manual, when you just add a fresh piece of data in each system, you'll need to come in here and click refresh data. If it's automatic, again, we will refreshing the data every hour and identify new and updated records to push over. Cool. So now I've grabbed this subcontract, and if I go into my state right now, you can see I have nothing. And if I just push, this subcontract will come over. Okay, just making sure no one's gonna have questions for this step. So great. So now it's synced over. Again, you can see the subcontract showing up here with the line item that we've determined, with the retention, with the subcontract date. And it's just as simple as that. This is also automatable.
Mm-hmm.
So I will skip purchase order and change order, largely the same. I'll do an AP invoice to just show you that's kind of the next step, right, of a subcontract. So I can give it a invoice number. All look good. And let's say it's completed in the store today. Let's just give it 50%. Cool. You can see the subtotal and retainage on this guy.
And
All good.
retainage. We'll say that one a little bit louder for the people in the back.
Yes, and retainage. Cool. And I hope this demo feels a little bit boring at this point, because we're literally just creating records, loading them, pushing them. But I do want to show it because, once you learn one of the tools, like you can expect everything to work in the same way. Mm-hmm. So let's just push that over.
I have to say, Samantha, this is actually one of the most exciting things that I get to watch, because I started out as the person who entered every single contract and entered some invoices. So from having done that by hand and then just seeing where we are now, I mean, gosh, that was not even like 6 years ago. And now you type it in one time and you can send it everywhere.
Exactly. And wait until you see it automated.
Yes.
Yeah, the time save of, some of our customers like having multiple contracts per day, like hundreds of AP invoices at the end of the month, and all just like auto pushed over. Yeah, it's a big time save.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That part.
So
now the pushing automatically would sometimes make me nervous. So do you guys have like conditions that you can, put on the, I'll have to, yeah. Okay. So like only if it has an M category can it pass through?
Yeah, so we actually support like very comprehensive filters that you can set. So for example, a very common one is status is approved. So whenever you finalize something, we push it over. You can, but you can also like you can do a lot more than that. Like for example, you can say only status approved amount smaller than 10K or whatever number makes sense, right? Like if you want to scrutinize like the larger invoices, you can do that as well. So any combination that you can come up with these filters, we can bake it in, so the autosync solution will respect that setup.
Okay, I'm a believer now.
That's good. And as you can see here, the invoice also just came over with retention. Let's repeat that.
Yes.
Yeah, and just like that, it's ready to go.
With retention. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just remarkable. That I remember in the beginnings of these integrations, that was a difficult part. And I think still is sometimes, especially for like, not to name any names, but sometimes like Oracle has trouble transferring retention, but it seems to be, a popular error and thing to have trouble with. So you guys aced that one too.
Yeah, thanks. And wait until you see our like solutions for systems that don't even support retention. For example, when we work with QuickBooks systems, there are generic systems, but we will create retention lines for them. So we make those systems a bit more easier to use in the construction world as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that is cool. I was noticing that now that I know a few more people who are using QuickBooks, both desktop and online now. And so that's a different life. You kind of have to think, I don't want to say outside the box, but you got to think somewhere not in the regular box to get it done.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we've like really just worked hand in hand with our existing customers on what is a cost code in QuickBooks, right? Like how do we handle change orders in QuickBooks? And we've gone through iterations, and we have a very stable solution that I think QuickBooks customers will be very happy to use. Cool. Sure. And just so we complete the AP picture, and the last piece is really like you would have these like ad hoc job costs that are not originating from commitments and not originating from Procore in a lot of cases. Like payrolls, like credit card expenses, ad hoc checks, those kind of stuff. You still need those records to be in Procore, so you have a up-to-date job cost picture for your PMs. So that's why we can pull all of the miscellaneous job costs. Like I'm pulling like 6.3 job costs here. And with a push of a button, I can write them to direct costs to the correct, to report on the correct budget line. So I always have this complete picture.
Nice. Like and we're doing that on a schedule too, right?
Yeah. So it has the budget code. So it will get reported into the budget tab as well.
Nice. Okay, so in just a few short years, we've seen how you can go from hand keying everything to automating a little bit and then integrating those automations so that you can have a more robust and time with your data. But not only that, I'm thinking about all the time that our button pushers would have gotten back to their day to be able to add value in some other area, right? And not only that, the frustration of our builders out in the field, they want to just put the information in one time and have that translate to whatever software platform corporate wants to provide for them to do their jobs, right? So this was great today. Thank you guys for taking the time, and we'll give it a couple of minutes to see if we've got any questions or if there's things that you guys can think of, maybe your favorite parts about it for the integration.
Yeah, happy to stay and answer questions.
We may not get any more. So very good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I know it's Friday, so we're going to give people a little bit of time to do other things besides listen to us during their lunch break. Again, thank you guys for coming on, and thank you for what you're doing for the construction industry. So they need it hooked up, and you guys are doing it.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having us, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Take care.